tonight we're diving into a fascinating slice of medieval life. So drop a comment with your location and what time it is there. Love seeing our little global community connect through these stories. The morning sunlight filters through the narrow windows, casting long beams across your chamber. You stretch beneath heavy wool blankets on a feather-stuffed mattress, a luxury only the wealthy can afford. Most peasants sleep on straw pallets that harbor fleas and bedbugs, but you are Lord William Thornbrook, one of the richest nobles in the county. The good news is that you are wealthy beyond imagination compared to the common folk who work your lands. The bad news: your big toe feels like someone is driving a red-hot poker through it, and the slightest movement sends waves of agony up your leg. You've got gout, what physicians call the disease of kings. Your day begins as it always does, with servants rushing to your bedside. Unlike the peasants who rise before dawn to milk cows and tend fields, you've slept well past sunrise. The head servant, Thomas, approaches with a silver basin of rose-scented water for washing your face and hands. Behind him, 2 younger servants carry your clothing for the day. Fine wool tunics, dyed rich colors, are presented. Thomas begins to speak of the feast preparations, and you cut him off with a groan. Send for the physician, my foot. It's the gout again. Thomas's face falls. He's seen your gout attacks before. You gasp as you see the swelling has returned. Your big toe joint now resembles a ripe red plum, hot to the touch, and so tender that even the weight of a linen sheet feels like torture. This, you reflect bitterly, is the hidden cost of your privileged life. While peasants suffer from malnutrition and exposure, the nobility faces different torments. The peasant might envy your abundant food, your warm shelter, your fine clothing, but they don't see the price your body pays for such luxuries. The skin is stretched tight and shiny, with a deep red hue that speaks of the fire burning beneath. As I've explained before, my lord, it's an imbalance of the humors. The phlegm, cold and moist, has settled in your joint where it becomes corrupt and causes pain. But the underlying cause, he hesitates, knowing you won't like his answer. Yes, you interrupt impatiently. My rich foods and wine, which settle in the cooler parts of your body, most often the feet, as they are furthest from the heart's warmth. What Master Gilbert doesn't say, but what you both know, is that your gout attacks have become more frequent. Last year you suffered perhaps 3 bouts. This year you've already endured 4, and it's only autumn. Each time the pain lasts longer, and your recovery grows slower. Some nobles, you know, have become so crippled by repeated attacks that they can barely walk, their toes and fingers permanently deformed by the accumulation of what physicians call tophi, hard chalky deposits under the skin. This is the cruel irony of your station. While peasants labor from dawn to dusk, strengthening their bodies with work and subsisting on simple fare, you enjoy a life of relative leisure and sumptuous food that slowly poisons your joints. Master Gilbert opens his satchel and removes several glass phials and packets of herbs. I've brought several remedies, my lord. First, a poultice of herbs to reduce the heat and swelling. From his bag, he produces a bundle of dried herbs, meadowsweet, willow bark, and other plants known to reduce inflammation. These will be ground and mixed with wine vinegar to create a paste that, when applied to your throbbing joint, provides blessed relief. And for the pain, he continues, a tincture of poppy. This is the most precious medicine in his collection. Distilled from the seed pods of poppies grown in distant lands, it dulls even the most excruciating pain. But it comes with its own price. It clouds the mind, and used too, frequently creates a craving that can consume a person. You've seen nobles who became dependent on poppy tincture, their fortunes dwindling as they purchased more and more of the costly substance. I've also brought autumn crocus, Master Gilbert says, producing a small pouch. The Byzantine physicians found it effective for gout. It must be used carefully. It was discovered as a treatment centuries ago, and its use has spread throughout Europe, passed from physician to physician without understanding exactly why it works. As Master Gilbert prepares his remedies, grinding herbs with a small mortar and pestle, you stare out the window at your estate. Your lands stretch for miles, fields, forests, villages, full of peasants who work from sunrise to sunset. You collect taxes from them, protect them with your soldiers, and judge their disputes. In return, they produce the wealth that allows you to live as you do. Outside, you can see workers harvesting the autumn crops. Men swing scythes through golden wheat. Women gather and bind the cut stalks. Children glean any fallen grain. Their movements are fluid and practiced, their bodies hardened by years of physical labor. None of them, you'd wager, suffer from gout. Master Gilbert gives you the poppy tincture, which you force yourself to swallow. Soon a warm numbness will spread through your body, dulling the sharp edges of your pain. Next comes the poultice. Master Gilbert gently applies the herb paste to your inflamed joint, then wraps it with clean linen. The coolness of the poultice with wine, he explains, offering another cup. Drink it slowly. It may cause some stomach discomfort, but that passes quickly. You drink as instructed, grimacing at the strange taste. Then you lie back against your pillows, waiting for the remedies to take effect. Rest now, my lord, Master Gilbert advises. No rich foods today. Barley water, a little bread, perhaps some boiled chicken without the skin. You pay Master Gilbert his fee. The physician bows and departs, leaving you alone with your thoughts and your pain. Through the window, you can hear the rhythmic swish of scythes cutting wheat, the calls of workers to each other, a harvest song rising from the fields. You lie in your manor house, crippled by pain that is, ironically, a direct result of your privilege. This is the great equalizer. While rank and wealth can shield you from many hardships, your human body remains vulnerable, subject to its own particular sufferings. The poppy tincture begins to take effect, wrapping your thoughts in cotton and dulling the sharp edges of your pain. As you drift towards sleep, you wonder, is your gout truly the worst thing about being rich in medieval times? Or is it merely the physical manifestation of a deeper truth? That excess, even when it appears enviable, carries its own punishments. When you wake, The sun has moved across the sky, and the quality of light suggests it's mid-afternoon. The pain in your foot has subsided from excruciating to merely throbbing, thanks to Master Gilbert's remedies. You can think more clearly now that the worst has passed. Your diet is filled with rich meats, washed down by fine wines and ales, followed by sweet confections made with expensive sugar. Your table reflects your status, each dish a statement of your wealth and power. But that abundance is precisely what has brought you to this state. The human body wasn't designed for such luxury, especially when paired with the sedentary lifestyle of nobility. Peasants eat simple foods, mostly grains, vegetables, and occasionally meat, and work physically all day. Thomas enters to discuss the feast. You tell him to proceed as planned. "And shall I tell the guests you're indisposed?" he asks. You consider this. The feast is to honor a visiting baron, a potential ally whose support you need. To be absent would be a political misstep. No, you decide. I'll attend. Have the servants prepare a chair with cushions where I can rest my foot and find my walking staff. After Thomas leaves, you carefully swing your legs over the edge of the bed. The movement awakens fresh pain in your toe, but it's manageable now. You stand gingerly, keeping weight off the affected foot, and hop step to the window. From here, you can see the inner courtyard of your manor. Servants hurry about their tasks, preparing for tomorrow's feast. A cart laden with barrels of ale is being unloaded. Smoke rises from the kitchen buildings, where cooks are already preparing foods that require slow cooking. It takes an enormous amount of labor to maintain your way of life. Dozens of people working constantly so that you and your family can live in comfort and project the image befitting your station. This, perhaps, is another burden of wealth in medieval times. The constant need to display your status through consumption and spectacle. Your table must groan with food. Your clothes must be of the finest materials. Your home must impress. Anything less would suggest weakness or decline. So your spending becomes its own prison. Evening approaches, and Master Gilbert returns as promised. He examines your foot, nodding with satisfaction at the reduced swelling. Lady Alina, your wife, enters and sits on the edge of your bed. "How are you feeling?" "Better," you admit. "Gilbert's remedies helped." She sighs, taking your hand. "This is the second attack this month. You must take better care." Lady Alina comes from a noble family herself and understands the expectations placed on someone of your rank, but she's also practical and clear-eyed. "The feast tomorrow," she continues. "Perhaps we could serve simpler fare. It would save money that could be used elsewhere and might set a new fashion. You know how others at court copy whatever you do." This is true. As one of the wealthier and more influential nobles in the region, your choices influence others. If you begin eating more simply, it might become acceptable for other nobles to do the same. A welcome relief for those who struggle to maintain the expected level of conspicuous consumption. Later, alone, you look around your chamber. Candles, a luxury most people can't afford, cast a warm glow across the room. Most peasants simply go to bed when darkness falls, or use rushlights made from reeds dipped in animal fat if they must stay awake. Your candles are made from beeswax, expensive, but cleaner burning and sweeter smelling than tallow. You think about the contrast between your life and theirs. They rise with the sun and work until their bodies are exhausted, eating simple foods and sleeping on straw. You wake when you choose, conduct business and politics rather than physical labor, eat rich foods that your body struggles to process, and sleep on feathers and fine linen. There is a lesson to be found in your suffering, that no life, however privileged, is free from pain, that the human body has limits. Tomorrow will bring the feast with all its temptations and obligations, but perhaps the day after will bring the beginning of a wiser path, one where you enjoy the benefits of your station without falling victim to its excesses. The worst thing about being rich in medieval times isn't just the gout. It's the golden cage of expectations that keeps you consuming things that harm you. But even golden cages have doors if one has the courage to find them and step through. Morning arrives with a pale sun fighting through the mist that clings to your estate. You are woken to find your foot improved, still tender and slightly swollen, but the fierce burning pain has subsided. Master Gilbert's remedies have done their work, particularly the autumn crocus. But you know that to appear weak or unwell is dangerous. Whispers of a lord's declining health can spread through the nobility like wildfire. Those whispers can undermine alliances, affect marriage prospects for your children, even reach the king's ear. So you rise, allowing Thomas and another servant to dress you in your finest garments. A tunic of deep blue wool from Flanders with embroidery around the neck and sleeves, a belt with silver buckles, hose that fits snugly, and soft leather shoes that have been carefully modified to accommodate your swollen toe. The left shoe has been slit and additional leather sewn in, creating a pocket of space where your afflicted joint can rest without pressure. You take up your walking staff. While decorative, many nobles carry such staffs as symbols of authority, but today it will serve a practical purpose, bearing weight that your painful foot cannot. You make your way carefully down the stone stairs of your manor house, each step a negotiation between dignity and pain. The great hall below is already bustling with activity. Servants hang fresh rushes mixed with herbs on the floor, sweet-smelling plants that will release their fragrance when crushed underfoot, masking the inevitable smells of many bodies gathered in one space. Trestle tables are being set up in rows, with the high table on a raised platform at one end, where you and your most honored guests will sit. Your steward, Henry, approaches with a bow. Unlike Thomas, who oversees your personal needs, Henry manages the entire estate, supervising other servants, handling finances, ensuring that your lands and household run smoothly. "My lord," he says, "the preparations are well in hand." The Baron and his party were sighted on the road, and the special arrangements we discussed. "Yes, my lord, your chair at the high table has been cushioned as requested with a small stool for your foot, and Lady Alina has instructed the kitchen regarding your meal. You nod, satisfied. These smaller accommodations will allow you to fulfill your social obligations without worsening your condition. This is the constant balance you must strike, maintaining the appearance and behaviors expected of your rank while managing the physical consequences they bring. Outside, horns sound. The Baron's party has arrived sooner than expected. You straighten, grip your staff more firmly, and prepare to greet your guests. The pain in your foot is a dull throb now, manageable if you're careful. You make your way to the courtyard, where your household is assembling to welcome the visitors. Lady Alina joins you, resplendent in a gown of deep green with a gold-embroidered belt and a delicate network of golden chains adorning her head. Together, you present the image of prosperity and power, hiding the weakness of your affected foot. Baron Radcliffe, welcome to my home. We are honored by your presence. The Baron dismounts and greets you warmly, his eyes taking in the scene, assessing your household and your health. The initial greetings are formal, a carefully choreographed dance of status and respect that establishes the relationships that will govern the visit. Medieval society functions on such clear delineations. Who sits where, who speaks when, who defers to whom. You escort the Baron inside, then excuse yourself to oversee final preparations. The pain in your foot is intensifying with the activity, but you hide it well behind a nobleman's mask of composure. To show pain is to show weakness. The hall is transformed now. Trestle tables covered with clean linens, wooden trenchers at each place, silver cups for the high table, and wooden or horn cups for those of lower rank. Fresh rushes carpet the floor, releasing the scent of meadowsweet and lavender when crushed underfoot. Servants hurry about with last-minute adjustments, and the steward directs it all with quiet authority. You make your way to the high table where your modified chair awaits. Testing it, you find that the cushions support your body, while allowing your painful foot to rest elevated on the small stool hidden beneath the table's drape. From here, you can preside over the feast without standing for long periods, a small mercy for which you're grateful. The kitchens send word that the first course is ready, and you dispatch servants to inform the Baron and other guests that the feast will begin shortly. As you wait, Lady Alina joins you at the high table, leaning close to speak privately. You're in pain, she observes, her voice too low for others to hear. Manageable, you assure her, though in truth, the throbbing has intensified to a steady burn. She gives you a knowing look. Master Gilbert left this for you. From a small pouch at her belt, she produces a vial of poppy tincture, just enough to dull the edge, not enough to cloud your mind. You accept it gratefully, taking a small sip when no one is looking. The bitter taste is followed by that familiar warming sensation that signals relief is coming. Not complete relief. You'll still feel the pain, but it will be muffled, pushed to the background so you can focus on your duties as host. The guests begin to arrive in the hall, taking their places according to rank. The Baron and his immediate family join you at the high table, while their attendants and your household knights and officials sit at the tables below. The lower servants will eat later, after the feast is concluded, making do with the leftovers and simpler fare prepared specifically for them. The meal begins with a ceremonial washing of hands. Servants move among the tables with basins of rose-scented water and clean towels. This ritual of cleanliness is practical, as most food will be eaten with the fingers, but also symbolic, marking the transition into the formal meal. The first course arrives, borne by a procession of servants. For most guests, there are rich meat pastries, roasted fowl, and a soup of herbs and barley. At your place, as arranged with the kitchen, the offerings are simpler: boiled chicken without the fatty skin, bread, and a small portion of fish cooked with herbs. It's still luxurious compared to peasant fare, but far less likely to aggravate your gout than the dishes served to others. Baron Radcliffe, seated to your right, notices the difference. Not partaking of the full feast, Lord Thornbrook, he asks, tearing into a meat pastry with gusto. You smile diplomatically. A temporary measure, my physician advises caution with certain foods. The Baron grunts in understanding. Ah, the cursed gout, is it? The disease of kings and nobles. He lifts his wine cup in a half salute. I've had a touch of it myself in recent years. Damnable thing. Indeed, you agree, relieved at his understanding. The price we pay for our position, it seems. The Baron laughs, a booming sound that turns heads at nearby tables. Well said. The peasants don't suffer it, do they? Too busy breaking their backs in the fields to develop our refined ailments. There's truth in his jest. Gout is rarely seen among the working classes. Their diet of simple grains, vegetables, and occasional meat provides little opportunity for uric acid to accumulate. Their constant physical labor keeps their bodies processing efficiently. It's only when you combine rich foods with a sedentary life that the condition flourishes. The Baron continues to eat and drink prodigiously, as do many of the knights and officials at the lower tables. It's a point of pride for a nobleman to demonstrate his prosperity through abundant consumption. Yet you notice that some of the older men, particularly those who occasionally wince when shifting position, eat more moderately and water their wine. They too have learned the painful lessons that gout teaches. The music allows diners to rest between bouts of eating and provides a cultured atmosphere befitting a noble household. It also gives you an opportunity to converse with your guests, building the relationships, steering the conversation toward matters of mutual interest. Your estates, like his, produce significant wool for export to Flanders, where it's woven into the fine cloth that clothed Europe's nobility. The Baron scowls. Indeed, and at the worst possible time. The merchants from Bruges are already complaining about the quality of last year's clip. Add this tax, and they'll look to Spain instead. This launches a discussion of trade, taxes, and royal policy that continues through the next course. Other nobles at the high table join in, sharing information and opinions. This is how the medieval nobility conducts politics, not just in formal councils, but over meals and during hunts, weaving a web of alliances and rivalries. The final course arrives, a display of sweet delicacies known as subtleties to impress the guests. There are fruits preserved in honey, custards, and small cakes flavored with expensive spices from the East. Your foot reminds you of its grievance. Despite the cushioned chair and elevated position, despite the poppy tincture and careful food choices, the pain has been steadily increasing throughout the meal. Lady Alina notices your discomfort and subtly signals to the steward. He approaches and bends to hear her quiet instruction, then nods and withdraws. Moments later, the minstrels begin a particularly engaging performance, a comic tale of a knight's misadventures that has the entire hall laughing. Under cover of this distraction, you shift in your seat, trying to find a position that offers relief. Perhaps some air, my lord, Lady Alina suggests quietly. The tale will keep their attention for some time. You nod gratefully, using your staff and accepting her discreet support. You rise and make your way slowly to a side door that leads to a small garden attached to the great hall. The cool evening air is a relief after the warmth and noise inside. You should return, you tell Alina once you're seated on a stone bench. Our guests will notice if we're both absent. In a moment, she says, arranging her skirts as she sits beside you. First, tell me truly, how bad is the pain? You sigh, dropping the mask of noble composure you've maintained throughout the feast, worsening the movement, the heat of the hall. You gesture helplessly. Even with all our precautions, it's flaring again. She takes your hand, her face concerned in the fading light. Should I send for Master Gilbert? You consider this. The physician could bring stronger remedies, but to summon him during the feast would signal the severity of your condition, a display of weakness you cannot afford. No, you decide. Just a few moments here to gather myself. You sit together in silence for a time, a rare moment of quiet intimacy amidst the demands of your public roles. The sound of laughter from the great hall drifts through the open door, a reminder of your pain and the social constraints that force you to endure it in silence. This is another burden of your station, the constant performance of strength and composure, even when your body is in agony. After a few minutes, you rise, the cool air having helped slightly. You return to the great hall, resuming your place at the high table just as the minstrel's tale concludes to thunderous applause. No one seems to have noticed your brief absence. You spend the remainder of the feast fulfilling your duties as host, engaging in conversation, ensuring the Baron and other important guests feel appropriately honored, maintaining the delicate balance of medieval social politics, despite the fire burning in your foot. Finally, the Baron rises, swaying slightly from the effects of wine. A magnificent feast, Lord Thornbrook. Your hospitality is as generous as your reputation suggested. This is the signal that the formal part of the evening is concluding. Some guests will retire to their chambers. Others will linger for more drinking and conversation. But the ritual obligations have been fulfilled. You can now withdraw without offense. You honor us with your presence, Baron. Reply, also standing despite the protest from your staff. The poppy tincture has worn off, and each step sends jagged spikes of pain shooting up your leg. By the time you reach your room, you're breathing heavily from the effort of maintaining composure. Thomas is waiting along with a young assistant. They help you undress and prepare for bed, removing the fine clothing and replacing it with a linen sleeping shirt. The modified shoe comes off last, revealing your toe, now visibly more swollen than it was this morning, the skin stretched tight and shiny. "Shall I send for Master Gilbert, my lord?" Thomas asks, his face creased with concern. "Yes," you manage to say, sinking onto the edge of the bed and propping your foot on cushions. The feast was a success. The Baron is pleased. Alliances strengthened your reputation for hospitality maintained. But the cost is written in the pain that pulses through your body with each heartbeat. This is the reality behind the glamour of medieval nobility. The physical price paid for social position. While peasants suffer from too little, you suffer from too much. Their bodies are worn down by labor and occasional hunger. Yours is poisoned by abundance. Neither fate is enviable, just different forms of the same human vulnerability to circumstance. Master Gilbert arrives, his face grave when he sees your foot. "The feast, I presume." You nod wearily. "I followed your advice as much as possible, simpler fare, watered wine. But the occasion itself." He nods in understanding. The long hours of sitting, the heat of the hall, the inevitable stress of hosting, all can contribute. He examines the joint gently. The inflammation has returned with a vengeance. We must reduce it quickly, lest that healing is complete. He begins preparing a stronger poultice than before, the pungent smell of herbs filling the chamber. And complete healing requires more than just waiting for the pain to subside. It requires ongoing change. This is the challenge you face, not just recovering from this attack, but preventing the next one. And that means confronting the expectations of your class. Master Gilbert applies the cool poultice to your foot. The relief is immediate, though it does little for the deep, throbbing ache. "Rest now, my lord," Master Gilbert advises, packing up his supplies. "I've left a stronger dose of poppy tincture for the night. Tomorrow we'll see how things stand." After he leaves, you take the tincture, grateful for the relief it will bring. As the medicine begins to work, dulling the sharp edges of your pain, you reflect on the day. Despite your condition, you fulfilled your duties. The feast achieved its purpose. The alliance with Baron Radcliffe is secure. Perhaps that's the real skill of nobility, not just commanding wealth and power, but navigating the costs and constraints that come with it, finding ways to meet the expectations of your position while protecting yourself from its excesses. It's a different kind of survival. You resolve that tomorrow, when the Baron departs, you'll begin implementing those small changes, a slightly different path that might lead to less suffering, while still maintaining your place in the rigid hierarchy of medieval society. As you drift into sleep, the pain in your foot diminishes to a distant throb, a reminder of the bargain struck between privilege and its price. The disease of kings has marked you, as it marks so many of your class. A painful brand of belonging to a world of excess that both elevates and punishes those who inhabit it. Through the narrow window of your chamber, you can see that the day promises to be fine, clear blue sky, the kind of autumn crispness that makes physical activity pleasant rather than punishing. On such a day, had you been well, you might have joined the Baron for a hunt. Galloping through the forests of your estate, falcon on wrist or hounds, baying ahead, pursuing deer or boar. These are the pleasures of nobility that your gout often denies you. Thomas enters with a basin of warm water scented with herbs, a different mixture from the usual rosewater. Master Gilbert recommended this, my lord. He says the steam helps ease inflammation. The scent of the herbs rises with the steam, meadowsweet, willow bark, and other plants known to reduce pain. You allow Thomas to help you wash, the simple act of hygiene, a welcome ritual after a night of pain. The Baron and his party will depart after breaking their fast. You say to Thomas, Radcliffe's visit was important politically. Hosting always requires energy you can ill afford when gout has you in its grip. Once he leaves, you can focus on recovery without the need to maintain appearances. Help me dress, you instruct. Nothing elaborate. I'll break my fast privately here. Thomas helps you into a simple tunic and hose. The process, a careful negotiation with pain. Each movement that jostles your foot sends sharp reminders of your condition. Once dressed, you settle in a chair near the window. Thomas brings a tray with your morning meal, a piece of bread, some Waterdale, and a small portion of cold fish left from last night's feast. This simple fare is closer to what a prosperous peasant might eat than the elaborate breakfast you normally enjoy. But Master Gilbert's advice about diet has been consistent over the years. The fewer rich foods, the better. From the courtyard below, you can hear the sounds of the Baron's party preparing to leave, the clatter of hooves, the jingle of harnesses, the Baron's booming voice giving instructions to his retinue. You should be there to bid him farewell formally, but both he and you understand that your absence will be attributed to your condition. In medieval society, gout provides a socially acceptable excuse for certain breaches of etiquette. It is, after all, recognized as an ailment of the nobility, almost a mark of status in itself. Lady Eleanor will handle the farewells, performing the role of chatelaine with the grace and authority that has made her as essential to your position as your own political acumen. The partnership between lord and lady is vital in medieval governance. While you manage external relations and official duties, she ensures that the household and estate functions smoothly, that guests are properly hosted, that your shared reputation for hospitality enhances your political standing. From your window, you watch the Baron's party assemble and depart. A colorful procession of horses, riders, and pack animals that winds down the road toward the village that forms part of your estate. Peasants will pause in their work as the nobles pass, bowing or curtsying as required, perhaps hoping for coins tossed by a generous lord in a good mood. Such interactions between ranks are highly ritualized, reinforcing the social order at every turn. Once they are gone, Lady Eleanor comes to your chamber. She looks tired but satisfied. The visit was a success, she reports, sitting beside you. The Baron is pleased with your hospitality and seems inclined to support your position on the new wool tax. This is good news, a tangible political gain from the socially and physically costly feast. These social rituals, for all their expense and formality, are the very fabric of medieval power, building alliances, assessing rivals, and cementing your status within the regional nobility. She mentioned that he suffers from similar attacks, though he tries to hide it. Apparently, he's been consulting with a Jewish physician from York who recommends cherries as a remedy for gout. Claims they've reduced the frequency of his attacks. This catches your interest. Medieval medicine is a complex tapestry of traditions. The Galenic system of humors taught in European universities, herbal knowledge passed down through monastic infirmaries, folk remedies, and knowledge from Islamic and Jewish physicians who often possess medical learning beyond what Christian Europe has preserved. Jewish doctors in particular are sought after by those who can afford their services, despite the general prejudice against Jews in medieval society. Cherries, you muse. I've not heard Master Gilbert mention those. They're difficult to obtain out of season, Alina points out, but we could preserve them next summer if you wish to try the remedy. You make a mental note to discuss this with Master Gilbert. The conversation turns to household matters, accounts that need reviewing, a dispute between two tenants that requires your judgment, plans for the winter months ahead. This is the daily business of lordship, the administrative foundation upon which your noble status rests. As midday approaches, the pain in your foot has subsided enough that you decide to venture downstairs. Using your staff for support, you make your way carefully to the small chamber off the great hall that serves as your office. Here, you receive your steward's report on estate matters. The harvest is complete, the mill has begun grinding, and the bakehouse reports the quality of flour is good. This is welcome news. A good harvest means relative plenty for all, and the ability to sell surplus grain for profit. After the steward departs, Master Gilbert arrives for his daily examination. You mention the Baron's Jewish physician and his recommendation of cherries. Master Gilbert's expression remains neutral, but you detect a slight stiffening. Medieval physicians guard their professional authority carefully. You then broach the subject that has been on your mind. I've been considering changes to my daily regimen, you tell him, not just during attacks, but as a regular practice. The physician looks up, his interest clearly piqued. What sort of changes, my lord? These would be wise adjustments, my lord. The body thrives on moderation, as Hippocrates teaches us. The challenge, you admit, is maintaining such moderation when one's position demands a certain level of conspicuous consumption. Even during such events, careful choices can mitigate the harm, he says, wrapping clean linen around your foot. I would be remiss, however, if I didn't also advise moderation in the passions. Anger, grief, excessive joy, all disturb the humors. These inflame the blood and contribute to conditions like gout. The ancients recommended tranquility of mind as essential to physical health. This advice reflects the medieval understanding that mental and physical well-being are intimately connected, that emotions affect bodily health directly through their influence on the humors. You consider this thoughtfully. The life of a medieval lord is filled with concerns, managing an estate navigating political alliances, ensuring family succession. You resolve to seek tranquility through meditation in the small chapel, walks through your gardens, and reading from the few precious books in your possession. I will consider your advice regarding the passions, you tell Master Gilbert. By evening, your foot feels substantially improved. You join Lady Alina for a simple supper in the small family dining chamber, beginning the dietary moderation you've resolved to adopt. The meal consists of fresh bread, a pot of vegetables, a small portion of fish, and watered wine. It's satisfying without being excessive. How are you feeling? She asks. Better. The recovery seems quicker than the last one, perhaps because we intervened earlier. After supper, you spend time with your children in the solar, the private family living space. Your 2 sons and daughter are still young, their lives a mixture of lessons from the chaplain, play, and training for their future roles. You know that soon they will be sent to other noble households to serve as pages or ladies in waiting, allowing them to build connections while learning the skills appropriate to their station. As darkness falls, servants bring candles and stoke the small fireplace. Lady Alina supervises the children's evening prayers before they're escorted to their chambers. You should rest, she tells you once they've gone. Tomorrow you have tenants' disputes to judge, and that requires a clear head. You know she's right. As lord of the manor, you serve as judge in the manorial court, a fundamental aspect of lordship. With your wife's assistance, you make your way back to your chamber, where Thomas has prepared everything for the night. As you settle into bed, you reflect on the day. The Baron's visit has strengthened an important alliance. Your estate's harvest is secure. Your gout is improving, and you've resolved to make changes that might prevent future attacks. All in all, a successful navigation of the challenges that come with your position.